please welcome our guest, Tolga Kumova.
Thanks, sir.
Hi, Tolga.
How you going?
I'm good. We've got a lot to chat about today. But yesterday I was scrolling through your Instagram.
Here we go.
And I came across a quote that you posted, and it was, "You're always only one decision away from changing your life."
Yeah.
What was that for you?
For me, there's been quite a number of them. And for everyone that's ever, actually not just for everyone that's been successful, it's for everyone that's not been successful as well. But for me, that moment was probably one of the most difficult positions in my life. My parents had lent me, or given me, their life savings. So they sold their house, and I was an assistant stockbroker, and my parents thought my son is actually quite intelligent, and he's going to be pretty good at this. So they gave me their funds, and to invest on their behalf.
Okay.
And I did, and I did very well. And I'll talk about the quantity. At the time, it was my dad was a taxi driver, and mum was a housewife. So I've been talking about $250,000 here. And I effectively took that, turned it into probably $700,000.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was nice until the company that held the assets that I was trading through went bankrupt. So you try going home and explaining to your mother and father how you were doing really well, but it wasn't really your fault that the bank went under.
So how old were you at this point?
I remember it yesterday. Yeah, it was. I would have been 30 years old, and yeah, going home to that conversation, I actually did not want to be breathing. Let's just be really honest. You just think about your dad, 7 days a week, night shift, as a taxi driver for 20 plus years, and everything he's ever worked for is now gone. Right? Picture that. And then you're expecting to just absolutely cop it. And I did. And I was being honest with them, as you should.
So tell me about the moment you walked into the house and you told them, "I've lost all your money."
I sat them down first. So
Okay,
I didn't
good
fall
job.
over, but I can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
At the time, it wasn't so entertaining. But it was, Dad was like, think of all the most exciting profanities and just, expect to cop them. And at that point, when he was doing that, I just literally was probably preferred not to be breathing. Anything else, but being there. But my mother, on the other hand, when my dad had left the room, because he was angry, and I don't blame him for it, because I would have been the same, as like everybody else would be. She was like, "Son, do you know what? The money you lost today, one day, you're going to spend it, and you're not going to care. It's going to be irrelevant to you.
Wow.
The day after, you'll do it again. It's still going to be irrelevant. And the day after." And she goes, "You are that smart. You are that intelligent. I know you're incredible. Don't worry about it. Just go get it back." That quote?
That gives me... And that was...
quote
Yeah.
is from that.
You're one decision away.
I was like, I could have just picture it, Your parents. Think of your own parents.
Yeah.
Everything they have gone. They've got to go and live on rent, assistance, whatever. Got back to work and feeling... I can't even talk.
Yeah.
Social services from the government. Think of that.
So what did you do then? So you said, how did you get yourself going and think, you have to start from scratch?
She gave me my own confidence.
Right, yeah.
So everyone can be happy for her and excited. And, well, you can do really well, pat you on the back, but that doesn't mean anything. So when you're confident in yourself, when you are inspired by you, that's what happened. And then it got really exciting. So I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. So what do you like when you've got nothing to lose? And that's the person you should be most afraid of.
Yeah.
The person that's got nothing to lose. If you're already, and this is what I say to people and I'm no social healthcare specialist, but the person that's willing to give up everything, which I was at that point, they got nothing will stop them.
Yeah.
So, to change the story and make it more entertaining, I then went out the next day, I'll never forget it, went out, had my normal coffee, my normal routine, went into the office, and I was like, I'm going to make all this back and then some. Started trading for my clients. I was like in such a motivated position that nothing or no one was going to stop me. I was going to make them a lot of money. So I didn't have any money to make myself. So I was actually just broke. And so my plan was I'm going to make these people so much money,
Yep.
which in turn, as a stockbroker, which means you're going to get commissions and it's going to go basically build your book. So I did that.
So you were still at this point, you were 30 years old, you were assistant stockbroker, you went back into work the next day and then you started trading again and then things. So how did things go over the next year or two? Did you get the money back?
So I started making my clients money and times were turning and the market was turning. So I wasn't like, I didn't have some luck with me, but so I had a client of mine call me up and tell me that I was, apparently I was doing a deal. I was going to raise money for a junior exploration company based in WA and we're going to look for gold. And I was like, got back from lunch and I'm like, what's this guy on? I don't even know what he's talking about. I don't know what this company is.
Yeah.
And I then called my head of corporate, so the investment banking team, and said, look, are we doing this deal? And they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I rang the CEO. He then says, Tolga, you're going to Perth tomorrow. I was like, what? I'm like, you're going to do this deal. It's like, all right, okay. He's like, your flight's this booked, da-da-da. And this is another one of those moments in life. So I don't know if it's like in traffic in Sydney, but when it's raining, getting to the airport is a nightmare, right? So it's raining, cats and dogs, and traffic is hell. And I missed my flight. I'm in the taxi, got there, realised I was not going to make it, just got back in the taxi and I was driving down. I rang him up, rang Alan and said, Alan, I'm just going to go back to the office. And I was doing really well, making commission, brokerage, trading like hell for clients. It was great. And I was making more money and it was fantastic. But he screams down the phone in my ear with this accent, this real thick accent, scaring me. And I was like 30 years old. Got out of the taxi, walked back up the ramp in the rain, went back, bought another ticket, got on a plane and went to Perth. And that company, I did do the raising, I did do the IPO. And it was the number one performing IPO in 2009-10.
What was it?
It's called Dore Minerals.
Okay.
Listed at 20 cents. Went to $1.60. I think we raised them $35 million in the process. So I went from not going to do it, not going to get on the plane, not knowing if this transaction was happening, to then being behind the number one IPO in that year.
And so but you made your fortune then in, your first fortune, shall we say, in Zero Resources.
So that transaction that I was talking about, that felt like a fortune. That was amazing. Like I was sitting there going, this is incredible, wow. And then what I realised, this was a turning point for me, when I realised I didn't want to be a stockbroker anymore, didn't want to be corporate anymore. It was the fact that the directors of the company that I just financed, that I met in Perth, the CEO, the MD, was in debt to his brother $500,000. And within 9 months of knowing me, I think he was up 15 million. So I was like, I decided that was going to happen. So I helped that happen for him. I'm like, why can't I just do this for myself? I mean, I made a lot of my clients a lot of money, so why can't I just do it myself? Yeah.
You went over to Africa. Can you tell us just a little bit about that journey?
Yeah. I'll go into that. So it was a mate of mine, and I partnered up. He had a dream. He wanted to build a uranium exploration company. He wanted to discover uranium in Africa. For the record, uranium is not really a dirty word, in my opinion. So just for the record. And we're looking to buy these uranium licenses from a UK-listed company, and the company thought they were ripping us off to a certain extent because the licenses they were selling us didn't really have uranium on them. So we're just a couple of punks that they were taking advantage of at the time. Obviously, we did know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we visited this project, and I've still got this on video. We were climbing this hill. We're in Mozambique, northern Mozambique, subsistence living, no running water, no toilet. Just think of people living in mud huts. I watched a movie called The Boy That Harnessed the Wind, and you'll understand exactly where we are. And I'm climbing this hill, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of graphite here. And I'm like walking along, and I'm like, wait a sec, there's a lot of graphite. It's everywhere. It's underneath your feet. You're looking up at this hill, which I was still 400 or 500 meters away from the hill, and you can see the soil is black.
Yeah.
Like, think of pencils. When you think pencils, graphite.
Yeah.
But what graphite's actually used for, and why we're excited about it, why I was excited about it, is it's probably 60% by mass in a lithium-ion battery. So all your mobile phones, all your electric cars, all your grid storage, power storage, it's got graphite in there is where the element that holds the energy. And I'm standing there going, we have found what looks like the Pilbara is to iron ore, or graphite is to lithium-ion batteries.
How come nobody found this before? How come?
No one was looking for graphite. The reason why I was inspired is at the time I was reading all this stuff on Elon Musk, saying this guy is actually going to change the world.
With battery.
And he is, slowly but surely it is happening. This is where the world's graphite is going to come from. And I knew it there and then. I can't predict when the electric vehicles are going to dominate.
Yeah.
And so life is about timing. But my dream was to build the world's largest graphite mine. So groups like Volkswagen and Tesla and BMW and all these groups that manufacture these cars, as they turn their plants from combustion and using oil and burning fuel and doing what they do to the atmosphere, to then retooling, which takes time, these massive factories to being electric vehicle powered.
Yeah.
This is where they're going to get the confidence that this project will actually be able to deliver as much as they need.
If we're looking at the future, it's going to be electric vehicles. They'll need to be powered by batteries.
Yeah.
So the demand for batteries, and then so graphite. When you built the biggest graphite mine in the world.
Yeah.
What was that worth? Like, how much is that worth?
I raised probably about $450, $500 million to do it. Probably gave up, 6 years of my life, which was to do my dream, and my dream was that. And it is basically to service the boom in electric vehicles, which hasn't transpired yet, but I'm certain it will over the next, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that project is going to service the world.
With mining these areas and then the local communities, can you tell us a bit about being in the local communities and how you balance that out? Like, I'm thinking like Blood Diamond, I'm thinking Leonardo.
Well, it's really funny. Someone actually described my life for me a little while ago, and it was the fast-moving, hustling, constantly, trying to raise money to finance these things and putting a vision and strategy together. But we're doing it legitimately, so not like it's not boiler room. It's so it's legitimate, and we're building these businesses.
Yeah.
So there's that angle, and then there's the Indiana Jones, where I might be in somewhere in Slovakia, 300 meters in a tunnel that hasn't been walked through for 500 years. And the next day next week I'm in far north Cameroon, with people that don't have clean water, that are living subsistence, don't really have food, that are living day to day and living off the land, people were 1,000 or 500 years ago. So
but they're living on this millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of minerals. So
yeah, it's amazing because you're right. When I first got there, I was looking at all these huts on the way there, and there was like the soil was orange. And then we got this one place in Mozambique, and their huts are black. Their huts are actually graphite. So they made these mud huts. And I'm like sitting there going, what happens in an electric storm? Like when there's a thunderstorm, this is conductive. Like what actually happens here? But anyway. But yeah, so how do we change their lives?
Yeah, how does it change your lives? Like what are some of the challenges, like the political challenges? I know I was chatting to somebody before, actually one of the girls before. So when you go into these areas and you decide, hey, I'm going to mine this, but these people, who owns the land? Like what's to say that you can go in and mine this?
Yeah, exactly right. So these governments give us licenses. They're governments. And the government's usually 1,000 kilometres away. The people that give you actually license, because all we really have as miners is we have a right to market their soil. So it's their soil. It's not ours. It's theirs.
Okay.
So if the local communities, if they're not engaged, if they're not benefiting, if it's not bettering their lives, and genuinely, not just I'm going to throw you some cash and you figure it out and move away, because that's what most people do. If it's genuinely changing the lives of the people that live there for the better and sustainably, is what has to happen. Otherwise, you don't have a license. They will not let you be there. Like they're the people that give you the ability to go and market their soil or build a plant or even be there.
So what are some of the things then that you are doing to...
You just reminded me of something.
What? Go on, tell us then.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something. So when I first went there, when I first realised what we were sitting on, it was a little town about 5 k's away, and we drove there after. I'm like, this mountain is worth billions and billions, like, I don't know, $50 billion, $100 billion. I don't know what it's worth, but it's just
I
ridiculous.
can't believe no one has, but like, I just
It's
can't believe the big mining companies hadn't been there. And then this is, a 30...
There was a report, I found an old report in a Mozambican archive from 100 years ago. So some English adventurer who was actually written in a book, and it was like 3 lines in a book that someone had actually seen this before. And it was like, I found the biggest deposit of graphite in all of history of mankind. And that was all that's been recorded before.
That's amazing.
So that was it. No one had actually bothered to look at it because, no one had a need to or went exploring there.
Yeah.
And Mozambique was in civil war until early 2000. So we come in after the fact and go looking.
What were you thinking? You are sitting on millions?
I was already thinking at that point, all your lives are about to change.
And has it changed in those mining areas?
Yeah,
has it changed for
incredibly.
positively?
There's actually a post I put on my Instagram. It's going back. I can't remember how far back it was, but
I probably
one
saw
of the things that we did, and there's a couple of things there's a couple of key things that probably defined my life. One was we set up a single mothers farming association, because what I realised in Mozambique, because of the civil war, a lot of the men had been killed. Just facts of war. And so that's lots of women and no men. So the men are off having as much fun as they want. All these women are having children. They're stuck by themselves.
Oh, no.
They're not using contraception or anything like that. So there's kids coming out of everywhere. And so what we found, all these women were starving, and all the men were taking whatever money they could and moving on to the next place. And we set up this farming association and taught the women how to farm. And we made it a deal, a rule inside the business, that we'd buy vegetables and fruit from the Women's Farming Association. So all of a sudden, these women who had no income were being able to feed their kids, being able to put tin on their huts, and they were becoming wealthy.
Fantastic.
So all the men came back.
Yeah, and they landed in.
So, which is indirectly, we're trying to putting back social class. But that was one thing. But the other one that I'm actually probably the most proudest thing in my life.
Oh, go on.
Is to work for the mining company. And it's probably, I don't know, at that point there was 2,000 people, 1,000 people working for us. And to work for the mining company, you had to at least have finished high school. I ran into one of my staff after I'd resigned and moved on. One of my staff, he's like, it's really exciting what's happening there. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, none of the kids are working in the fields anymore. I said, why? Because usually that's what happens. So if you go watch this movie, you'll see they all literally farm to live. But as a result, all of the people that work for the mining company have now got bikes. They've got motorbikes. So it's exciting. They can buy fuel. They can travel. So they're able to take their girlfriends to, I don't know, wherever they go and town. They can go eat out and stuff and things that we normally do, we take for granted.
Yeah.
And so all the kids are like, I don't get to live that life without finishing my high school.
Great.
So now every kid finishes high school. Every single one of them, they go and get a degree. Oh, when I say degree, finishing high school in their world is a massive degree. It's like being a doctor here.
Yeah.
So the impact that I've had, and this is why I say I'm proud of thing. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting
it's having a ripple effect throughout the whole community.
Lots of, hospitals, schools, stuff like that. I was expecting things to get better and cleaner and more health care and all sorts of stuff. I was expecting that. But the fact that every kid then goes and stays as an education.
How does that make you feel?
As I said, it's probably the most defining moment in my life to date.
Can you just explain, just briefly, like minerals, like zinc, for example? What's that used for?
It's basically stop corrosion in steel. So
okay, so China,
China, growth, steel, cars. It's a commodity that's obviously utilised all over the planet. So it's used in steel manufacturing.
And you're involved in gold as well.
So I've invested in some gold projects. Investing in more gold projects, and at different stages. So some of the companies I invest in are exploration, which are high risk, high reward. Yeah. Some are the companies that have deposits that are going into development, and where they're looking to construct mines, so the actual plants. And then some are operating. So the zinc mine is in operation, and it's going really well. The gold projects I'm involved in are exploration. They'll at some point go into development.
So 2008, you lost all the 2007 you lost all the money, your parents' money, and then in 2017 you were on AFR's Young Rich list and you were worth 95 million. How do you choose what to go for? And for people, so for somebody who wants to invest, where would you advise them to go?
There's a couple of different elements.
Yeah.
The things that I look for, it's got to be world class. Like they have to be tier one projects that are world class, actually going to make a difference. And our zinc mine in Queensland, it's effectively an environmental rehab project. There's a company that was mining it it's been mined for 16 years, but the tailings, so the waste material, they actually just put into these dumps, and the dumps are sitting there, and they effectively they had, it was like 90 million tonnes at 3% zinc. So teamed up with a couple of very smart individuals, and it comes down to people, a lot of this investment stuff. So people need to be incredible.
Yeah.
And they need to be highly talented and motivated. Like I gave up 6 years of my life. These people that I work with need to be in a position to give up 6 years of their lives.
Yeah.
To make these projects work. It does take a lot of effort and energy and time.
Like these people.
So effectively we're just taking the tailings, cleaning up the dumps, putting it back through the plant and then putting it back into the pit it came out of. So effectively cleaning the environment whilst obviously generating shareholder returns. So that's a key reason for that project. If we look at, there's one I'm doing we're looking at working on in Cameroon.
Yeah.
A bauxite asset. And it's going to be the world's third largest bauxite producer. So again, doing what I did in Africa, what we did in Africa again. And just teaming up with people. It's all the right people. But not to say these investments are for everyone. Like, I'll be brutally honest, not everything we do works. Like, if I told you about my losses and the things that have failed, it's not so much fun to talk about.
So you've taken some big risks then.
Every day?
Yeah. So how do you manage that? Like, how would you approach, what's your approach to risk?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it kind of depends. It depends on the people that I'm working with. And like I said, a lot of these companies, most of them don't really, depending on what level they're at, I'm taking on more risk. So exploration businesses, and if I told you how much I've dusted in backing exploration companies, it's upsetting. But when one comes off, when they do discover something, it's so rewarding. And that feeling, it's like, it's a buzz. It's adrenaline, but it does make it, like I'll explain, there's a company called Bellevue Gold, which I started investing at 2 cents. And it's now 70 or something, 60, 70 cents a share.
Yeah.
And they found gold, and it looks like it's going to be one of the best gold deposits in Australia.
Wow. Okay.
For all the ones that have failed, they're more than enough to.
You're 95, just say in 2017, you're worth 95 million. How much do you think you've lost along the way? Well, we know you lost $250,000 of your parents. So
it's hard to quantify because I've sold things, I've bought things, but my net assets have gone up significantly. So it's hard to explain. But if I was pure exploration that I've punted, it'd take me a while to calculate. Maybe $20 million, $10 million. I wouldn't be able to quantify it. It's a lot.
Okay. So
it's in the tens of millions. Yeah.
You spoke there about the zinc and the environment, and that was one of your motivations. How worried are you about climate change?
Worried. Well, the reason why I gave 6 years of my life up to go and build a graphite mine that people can go be comfortable building electric vehicle plants, knowing they're going to get that feed to be able to build the batteries. Obviously, I've been passionate about this for quite a long time. And a lot of my investments are around the raw materials that go into electric vehicles. Now, I will say this, and I will quantify it. In life, everything is about timing. So the timing that I've had for electric vehicles, that's when I thought it was going to come, and I've been educated quite humbly. These things don't come quickly. They take time. Investments need to be made, like groups like Volkswagen investing like $50 billion retooling their plants to basically have batteries in them instead of internal combustion engines. Yeah. So these things do take time. It does take time to make the investment decision. It takes time for people to change their thought process to then want to drive electric vehicles rather than combustion engines. So it's all about timing. So these businesses that we're building, and there's lots of them being put in place, they're going to be successful right now, maybe.
Yeah.
But when the time comes and it becomes commonplace, they're going to be incredible investments.
So are you worried? Are you like, would you be worried about like like future generations? And
Of course.
Because when you're talking about that, so in order electric vehicles,
Everyone that doesn't is naive.
in order to make those batteries, we need the materials that you're pulling out of the ground. So mining's never going to stop.
It's
What's the solution?
It's
I'm not
not
asking you to
just
do-
electric vehicles. It's electric vehicles is just one portion of it. Just the way we generate energy is going to have to change, and it will over time. Like there'll be a mix, and it always needs to be a mix of energy production and the sources for energy production. But you're seeing it in Europe. You're seeing it in parts of the world. I mean, we don't see it as much of it in Australia, but and in China, a lot of solar and wind power, so natural sources of energy are being produced. And they talk about climate change, and climate obviously heats up and cools down stuff over generations and time. But I think the biggest issue is you look at where it does get warmer, it does get colder. That is actually changing. So you're seeing parts of the US that all of a sudden extremely cold and extremely warm.
Yeah.
But then in other parts of the world, it's normalizing, or it's extremely cold and extremely warm there as well. So it's just having that adverse effect. But in terms of the average, I don't know if that changes so much. Just where it's cold and where it's warm, I think is going to have the biggest impact.
So you're good at picking investments, as we can see. But like, so would you invest in like the wind turbine, or would you invest in solar? Or do you not see it as good an investment?
No, I do. I am invested in minerals that go into that field. And I mean, I'm invested in minerals that go in that field at an early stage, because I think it does take time for the world to go, wait a sec, we do actually need to do this.
Yeah,
and
we have
do
to
it full
make a move.
So in early stage assets or projects where they're exploring for it, or they found they need to develop something, it might take a few years to get there, but making sure that there is, or being part of the value chain, that the people that are investing in the manufacturing facilities have a source of supply of the raw materials.
Yeah.
Is where I'm mostly focused.
And I know I asked you, just touched on there, if somebody was going to invest, where you would recommend investing, but somebody who's not going out to, say, Africa and it's like climbing mountains looking for mines. If somebody just has 20K in their pocket, they want to invest it, they want to put it into something, it could be anything at all, what would you recommend?
At the time, I'm not married, don't have children, so I'm not responsible for anybody.
Yeah.
So not everyone should get up and go in the middle of Africa and go looking for mines and minerals and deepest, darkest Sahara and the hills in Ethiopia and war zones and all sorts of stuff. It's just not for everybody. But at the time, I didn't have anything to lose.
Yeah, so it was good for you.
So it was appropriate for me to do. But if you had $20,000 and where would you put it? It really depends on your situation, on what age you are, what risk you can take. Like I'll be honest, I made all my money investing in single assets. But is that the right thing? And at the time, my age, my position at the time, I had time to recoup it.
Yeah, yeah.
Before I'm going into retirement. So is it for everybody? Maybe.
It's hard. It's a hard one.
But speak to an advisor.
There's a lot of myths about the industry. Is there any myth about your industry, or just indeed in life, that you would just like to just get rid of?
Sometimes, I was just a taxi driver on the way here. And he's like, when I told him that I was in mining, and he's like, oh, yeah, really? He goes, and he said it in such a way as like we're such evil people. And I was like looking at him going, mate, your car wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have this job, you wouldn't have that mobile phone if there wasn't someone in the Pilbara doing a 4-week on, 2-week off shift, digging that mineral out of that ground, sending it to China for someone there to produce it and send it back to us as a car. Or, the fuel being produced or the oil being produced in the Gulf of Mexico. Like, there are people, we're not evil. You need this to happen as long as we do it sustainably, which we do.
Yeah.
In most instances, like there's rules, regulations. And so the people that are doing, they're employed. So actually they're being able to feed their families. So yeah, the myth that we're
destroying the earth. There's protests out. There's a lot of young people out at the moment, the Swedish girls making the speeches, and they're saying, these miners, you're destroying the earth. So, like, how do you respond to
see it.
that?
Come see it. Don't protest. Get on a plane. I'm sure people will be more than happy. We would have been happy. Come look at our mine.
Yeah.
Go to Mozambique. See what we're doing. See the local community. See how their lives have changed. I had this one, again, I won't single out one
Taxi
European group who is protesting in a particular village near our area. And I was like, guys, you guys all turn up in these beautiful trucks sponsored by NGOs.
Right, yeah.
And you're fed and given mobile phones and you've got clothes on your back, you're getting beautiful water. And you're telling these people to worry about the noise and the dust this produces? They don't have food. They're struggling to drink. There's no healthcare. Like, please think about it before you actually go that far. Come look at how they live. Come look at how they used to live.
Yeah. It's a tough one because I know it's always the debate. Like, it's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring, improve the local economy and that kind of thing. But at the same time, then you think, how they're going to negatively be impacted.
I'm not talking about someone who's just doing a backyard operation and they're causing, and this does happen, right? So it needs to be regulated. But
yeah,
we do it ethically, do it sustainably. We're not, we're going out of our way. And most of these people are empathetic. Like, they actually do care about the people they're working with. So that is a myth.
And so you've been hugely successful. And do you find that a lot of people, because as you said, your father was a taxi driver, and you came from very little means. Do you find a lot of people begrudge your success, or it
is Australia? We do have tall poppy, but not everybody. I mean, you just hear from the people that would begrudge success. They voice their opinions a little bit louder. But at the end of the day, if people don't, I'm not talking about the people in this room, I'm talking about people listening. If you don't go and try and build a business or follow your dream or make a difference, or provide a product that people need, then who's going to create jobs? Who's going to create employment? Who's going to pay taxes?
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of it? So there's the capitalist side of this. But then there's also the taxes that generate. And trust me, we pay a ridiculous amount. Probably more share than most people could probably contemplate. But those funds go to taking care of people that genuinely need it, like the people that can't take care of themselves, the hospitals that can't. And this is why I haven't left the country. I've been told by my tax lawyers to move to Singapore or Hong Kong because I don't have to pay. But my dad was a taxi driver.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a public school. I went to public hospitals. I used public roads. And the way I see it is someone once upon a time was paying their taxes, right? Who's probably now retired and probably on a pension somewhere. So all they did back then, they were actually investing in me. Yeah. Just because I got lucky, just because I did well, doesn't mean that person's going to miss out on me being able to take care of them. So it's like an investment. So that's how I see taxes. If I'm paying it, I'm investing in someone else, at some point when I'm 60, 70, hopefully 80, taking care of me and my children if they need it.
So that sort of cyclical movement, on your Instagram, not that I was stalking your Instagram yesterday, but there was another quote that you put, and it was, never forget the people who ignored you when you had nothing and who helped you. Is there people particular, I know your mother obviously was very encouraging. Is there anybody who
lots of them.
Inspired you?
Lots of people that inspired me. I've been my mentor, but been there when I needed them. And also not just the people that helped me, the people that didn't help me as well. You remember those too.
Yeah.
And
who are
you
your
look
mentors?
back and go, they gave you an education.
Yeah.
So you learnt, and we all learnt how to treat others. I could be maybe a little bit more conservative. I was always so gung-ho and just trusting and appreciative. So it taught me not to be so much, even though you genuinely want, and I think I feel how people feel and want to help them, and they want to help me. But those people I was talking about in that particular quote, it's about getting lucky.
Yeah.
You don't get lucky. Like, the word luck is kind of lost in translation, I reckon. I genuinely believe people make you lucky. They decide if you're going to be successful. So if someone gets in your way and tries to stop you, you're not going to get lucky. And if they have the means to, you're not going to get lucky. They have to genuinely want to not stop you.
Do you think it's people, or do you not think it's your own attitude? Because you're saying people decide your luck. So if I was sitting around waiting for everybody to decide my luck, is it not your own mindset?
So I reckon the secret to success, the main secret to success is, and I'm talking about being authentic, like genuinely, authentically empathetic. If you can feel what the person in front of you is feeling, what actually motivates them, like walking into a boardroom and actually sitting down and speaking to somebody that I want something from, and they want something from you. Usually they want to make money. Usually you need money. But understanding what else motivates them, because probably 70% of the decision is not about that. It's about, do they want to spend time with you? Do they actually think you care about them? Do they think you have good intentions? And are you being honest? Are you being genuine?
Yeah.
And it goes back the other way. So if they feel that, if you can feel it, then they're not going to not help you. Not going to say they will. They just won't get in your way to stop you.
You would think that's as true in business as it is in personal life.
Every word of it.
Really?
Yeah. If you're empathetic, go home with you, spend time with your partner, and try not to feel their feelings and see what happens to you, how long it lasts before you have a fight. It'll happen pretty quickly. So that's just one example.
Yeah.
And you can giggle and laugh about it, but yeah, it's the same thing in business. If you're not going to be understanding, if you're not going to be courteous, if you're going to be rude and not listen to what they think or feel, then they're not going to like you. And then that's where your luck disappears. The minute that someone doesn't like you, they're not going to help you.
Is it hard to keep that attitude? Like, say, you got 2000, I'm not exactly sure what your figure is now, but in 2017, 95 million. Is it hard to kind of keep that humble or even empathetic attitude?
It's easy because you don't get it in the first place unless you're authentic. If it's not you,
Yeah.
you can't hide it. Like, I'm sure you all know people that can't hide the fact that they don't care about anybody else. Like, those people stand out. So, and I'm sure that they might look happy or act happy, but within them, they're probably not.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I was like, does that money make you, are you a lot happier now than you were back then?
The only part it makes me is, like I said, what I've been able to do for my parents. And I spoke about the fact that my parents gave me all their money, and I lost it.
Getting that money
Wasn't
back.
my fault though. But now my parents live on a 4-story house on the beach with a pool on their roof, and Mum took her to Mercedes and said, pick whatever you want. Like, that makes me happy, being able to put a smile on their face.
Nice.
My dad, I bought him a Porsche. I was going to get it painted yellow just for kicks. And he's going to drive me around, put it on top. But yeah, I know it might come across condescending, but that's what makes me happy. It made me, maybe not as happy as knowing that every single kid in Mozambique in that region, like, that is a different type of, it's like self-actualization. That's where you're sitting there and you're reading and you're like going, and you're looking at photos and you've got tears because you're like, I've changed their lives. That is a different type of happiness, but money, it just gives you more accessibility to put a smile on someone else's face.
We've got lots of questions from the audience, so brace yourself. You came from humble beginnings and are now so successful. What's the mindset or attitude you have about money that you think has helped you the most?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's just feeling. It's the ability to help others. I mean, I was talking about earlier, I've bought a polo farm and I'm throwing a event there, and every single dollar is going to a group called TLC for Kids, which is basically unfortunate families with kids with terminal diseases. And I'm a patron of this charity, so I've been helping them ever since I made my first chunk, going back to Dore. I I paid my taxes, but I was like, you know what, I've gotten lucky.
Give something.
I want to give some more. So I went and made a list of 10 charities, and this particular one appealed to me the most because, just picture my situation, 2 brothers, dad's a taxi driver, mum's on the pension. If something had to happen terminally to my brothers, let's say one of them got cancer, I was in hospital, got 2 months to live. My dad has to go to work the next day because he's got to put food on the table because we're living from week to week. He doesn't get to spend time with my mother and my dying brother. He's got to pay the rent. So this particular charity steps in situations like that and helps them out, whether it be food, healthcare, whatever it is, whatever they need. So and they get to act like in hours, not weeks, like a social system, which is why this particular charity. So I'm throwing a polo event, which I don't have to do, to raise money, and all the proceeds, every dollar goes to. So that's what money can do.
Yeah.
That's helping others.
Do Do you think it's better to make business decisions quickly and on gut feel, or do you carefully plan out your strategy?
Sometimes even I get taken for a ride. And it happens, I won't say it happens often, but it does happen when people I've trusted, and it's all about trust when it comes to business and all your own other relationships. Yeah, it is gut. I prefer gut than actually me sitting and thinking everything through. Because obviously, when a situation opportunity comes up, if I look at it, spend a day on it, I've got a view.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to the people.
Yeah.
Do I think they can do it? Do I think they can sacrifice that time, that effort? Do they have a capacity? Do they have intelligence? And do I think they can get lucky?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they empathetic? Are they people I want to spend time with? And then the other thing is, which I think is really important, is if you are successful in one of these ventures, in these businesses, do you actually want to celebrate with them? Would you go to their house, or would you invite them to your house to have dinner and drinks and whatever?
Absolutely.
Do you want to win with them?
Yeah.
Sometimes I've won and I'm like, I don't really feel excited. Something's going well, I'm not excited because I don't really want to spend time with you.
Yeah, so that's the same way with me when I walk into a company to see if I want to actually work there. I just look at each individual person and go, could I go for a drink with you one-on-one? And there's lots of those. I'm like, we're laughing.
Yeah, then it's fun. Otherwise...
what are you most afraid of?
Tough one. What am I afraid of?
Think about it.
Something happened to my family. That would be, yeah. Like this morning, I had a racehorse that I got a share in. It was a favourite for the Melbourne Cup, and it ran at Flemington 2 weeks ago and pulled a tendon, and I found out just as I was walking in that it's no longer going to be running the Melbourne Cup, and it was the favourite, paying 16 to 1 when the Cup is 6 months out.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible horse, but that doesn't faze me. That doesn't worry me. I mean, the horse is fine. It's not going to pass away, but it'll have its chance again the following year. But if something was to happen to someone I loved, cared about, then that would probably...
So your family, your parents and your brothers?
Yeah, just people I love. I got really close friends that I love.
Yeah.
Something happening to them, that would be probably most... Yeah.
What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? What were you doing when you were 20?
I've never thought about this stuff.
I'm just thinking, because you were 30 when we heard from when you were 30. What were you doing when you were 20? First job?
No, my first company. I was at uni studying banking and finance, and I had a business which I started when I was 18. You know the car washes they have in the shopping centres at the Westfields? So I started that when I was 18 years old at Doncaster Shopping Centre in Melbourne.
Oh, wow.
So I was running that. We had like 30 employees. I was 18. I just had a license and I owned a car wash.
You were an entrepreneur from day one.
Didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always wanting to do more, try more, be more. And I didn't really have parents that have the asset pool to go and fund me into something. This is money we borrowed from a bank. And the only reason we got the lease is because the guy who was a leasing director, basically I'd been cleaning his car since I was 15 or something. So he trusted me and knew me really well. So every single Saturday, the same guy would come in. So I'd form these relationships and trust. And I had a business partner who was my best friend. And he was pretty passionate. He's pretty successful. He was one of the auctioneers on the block recently. So the advice then? So the advice to me is just what I was doing. Exactly the same. I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, great. That's perfect.
Wouldn't change a thing.
That's fantastic. So what's the plans? What's next for Tolga Kumova?
I had my bankers pitch me yesterday a couple of ideas, and I was like, I'm thinking them through, but I genuinely love what I'm doing. I get to look at all different businesses. I get to spend a lot of time meeting new people with different ideas every day. I probably do a lot more of the charity work that I'm doing because it does makes me happy that I'm able to do more for people that would have been me. So that would have been my family, would have been my situation. More of that, but the businesses I'm already associated with, helping them grow and those people grow, and just learning more.
Always learning.
Yeah. Get an education.
Amazing. Tolga, thank you so much. It's just been absolutely amazing. You're so inspirational. It's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
That part is surreal. I don't feel inspirational. I just feel like.
But you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Tolga. Thank you.